proud of the progress they've made. The men of the railroads are yet the first to say that they should be doing more. So, why aren't they?
Why aren't we doing more? Because we haven't been permitted to share in the post-war prosperity that has come to this nation. On our drawing boards, we have all kinds of improvements that have tremendous payoff potentials in terms of better service at lower cost. But these projects take money. And where is the money coming from in an industry whose rate of return on net investment has not been a reasonable 6%, nor even 5%, nor even 3%, but a meager 2 3/4%. Such meager earnings not only leave little money for improvements, but make it next to impossible for us to attract investment capital with which to build. The situation is not due, as you have seen, to the railroad's lack of interest in efficiency or its failure to keep up with the times. It's due to the fact that in today's highly competitive transportation market, the railroads are forced to fight with their hands tied behind their backs. Let's look at it this way. Suppose you owned a business of your own. You bought the land and built the store with your own money. You pay taxes on that land and store, of course. You work hard to help your town grow. You pay to keep up your property. You sweep your sidewalks and shovel your own snow. Now, suppose another man decides to open a competitive store, and your town fathers make him a present of a part of the courthouse square. He doesn't pay for it, and he doesn't pay taxes on it. He lets the town sweep his sidewalk and shovel his snow. And mind you, it's your taxes that are helping to pay for this. You wouldn't call it fair, would you? And that's not all. When you were the only business of its kind in town, suppose the town had passed a lot of regulations governing your business and your prices. Now you've got competition, but you're still regulated. While this competitor, because he's subsidized, is able to take your business and your customers away. People in your town may think they're able to buy more cheaply. But what kind of a bargain are they really getting when you figure the hidden costs? That's the situation the railroads face. We're being treated by government, national, state, and local, as though we still had a monopoly on transportation. Whereas, in fact, of course, we have very unfair competition. And to make matters worse, while the railroads are being hog-tied, our competitors are being pampered. We hear a lot of talk about wonderful new highways. We have a $41 billion highway program to be carried out over the next 10 years. $41 billion. That's more than the total investment in railroads in the last 125 years. This will bring the total since 1921 to roughly $140 billion of public funds spent to create a mass transportation plant which operates in direct competition to the railroads. Highways are supposed to be paid for by the users, but user taxes have amounted to less than half the total money spent. Even so, on a ton-mile basis, a private car pays 4 times what a truck pays. So a highway trucker pays nothing to build his right-of-way, pays far less than his share for maintenance and replacement, and pays virtually no taxes to support schools, welfare programs, and government. The situation is much the same with air transportation. The right-of-way is the National Airway System of navigational and safety aids operated by the federal government. Airports and terminal facilities are provided by the taxpayers, and charges collected cover only a fraction of the cost. What's more, every airport built means more land taken off the tax rolls. Water carriers are in the same favored position. They pay none of the cost of dredging channels, of improving and maintaining their right-of-way. They pay no charges for the use of public dock facilities and locks, whereas the federal government has poured nearly $2.5 billion into this work, and state and local governments huge sums in addition. And while using all these tax-supported facilities, the barge lines themselves pay virtually nothing in taxes. By contrast, Railroads have used their own private capital for their right-of-way and track construction, for bridges and stations, and they maintain the right-of-way entirely at their own expense. And far from being subsidized, the railroads pay heavy taxes to federal, state, and local governments, taxes which directly help to subsidize their competitors. Railroads, then, are required to help pay for highways, airways, airfields, and waterways, but are denied equal rights given their competitors to use these facilities for a business purpose. The railroads believe that every company engaged in transportation should have the right to use every tool of the transportation trade, trains, trucks, airplanes, and vessels, in order to offer a one-package transportation service, using the most efficient service or services to do a given job. This they are now forbidden to do by regulations. For instance, one regulation deprives the railroads of equal opportunity to share in transporting agricultural commodities, which, when transported by motor carrier, are exempt from regulation. This and other regulations bar the railroads from taking steps that any prudent businessman would take in the face of competition. The prosperity of this land has been built by business units that produce a commodity or service that adds to our overall national product. On that basis, what's the picture in transportation? In a single year, the federal government expended the labor of 28,500 people and $515,185,000 to promote transportation by air. To promote transportation by water, the federal government invests 25,694 people and $808,662,500. To promote highway transportation, 4,209 people and $2,408,931,000. But to promote railway transportation, the federal government invests not one man and not 1 cent. This clearly shows which modes of transportation are a drain on our economy and which one is at work building our economy. The railroads pay their own way, every step of the way, and that's the way they want it to be. They're not looking for handouts or favors. All they ask is that all forms of transportation pay their own way, making adequate compensation for the use of public property and services. They ask to be allowed to use public highways and waterways and airways on the same basis as others. And they seek freedom from antiquated laws and regulations in order to compete for business in a competitive market. In other words, what we ask is simply for fair play and freedom to build for a future strong, vigorous, and progressive.
The plight of the railroads has attracted nationwide attention, and a committee of the United States Senate investigating the situation concluded that a new attitude is essential if we are to stop the destruction of a vital part of the transportation system and the downward trend of our nation's economy. This is a matter of vital concern to all Americans, and especially to the people of Illinois. Rail transportation has been responsible for the transformation of Illinois within 2 lifespans from an untamed wilderness into a great agricultural and industrial commonwealth. It's literally true that the economy of our state rides on rails. As taxpayers, too, the railroads are leading citizens of the state, paying $20 million a year to support our schools and $22 million a year to our local governments, a total of $42 million paid by the railroads that individual taxpayers would otherwise have to pay. And in our national determination to remain strong, that we may remain free, we look to the railroads as one of the basic weapons in our arsenal. As citizens of Illinois, we depend upon the railroads for our economic well-being, as we depend upon them for the defense of our freedom. We need our railroads, and we need them strong, vigorous, and progressive. Our stake in the railroads is our stake in the future of this land. It's that simple and that urgent.